What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes delivering again, hot off the press. It's Eric Nicksick, the head coach for Team Ngannou. They're coming off their first successful title defense at UFC 270. They unified the undisputed and interim titles. Francis Ngannou walking away with the decision. Eric, you must still be on a high from that epic win last night.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's nice to get around some family and friends and kind of decompress. So today I stayed in Cali. I drove down to Newport, and it's nice to get around all the family because they drove out from San Diego and some drove out from Vegas. So just a little downtime with the fam. It's been nice.
Eric, this is crazy because the sport is supposed to be somewhat fun, and I got to imagine the camp. We saw the knee sleeves. We also heard the rumors or the people that were talking about certain rumors, and then he revealed it to us later. But between that, the injury, all the stuff going on with contracts and Dana and Ngannou not getting along, the coaches, you even got reeled into it. Holy cow, man. What a relief it must be that it's all over. His hand is raised, but what was this whole process the last couple of months, man? Getting all the way leading up until Saturday when they finally said, Francis Ngannou and still.
If I'm being honest with you guys, man, I was a nervous wreck, and it was I think a lot of the things that my head was telling me was to pull out of the fight. I just didn't like the way the knee injury was and the situation, the opponent that we had with the particular injury that we had. Obviously we did want to get into some wrestling, but I didn't know how we were going to be able to wrestle without having the cardio the last 3.5 weeks, as well as the stability of the knee. And man, I just got to give all the credit to Francis, dude. Like, that guy's willpower, his mental capacity, what he wanted to do, he just was unwavered the entire camp. And that's from what I saw. I mean, he might've went home and was freaking out as much as I was, but I think when we got together as a team, we just tried to keep our composure and make sure we weren't freaking out for one another. But man, he did an amazing job, and Coach Dewey Cooper had to take over a lot of the stuff because we basically made Dewey a punching bag for Francis all camp. So yeah, man, it was a tough one for sure.
Did he ever give you the inclination that he was close to pulling out?
Not really. We had kind of that, come to Jesus moment last Friday before we left. We got word from a second opinion doctor out here in LA that he was adamant that Francis should pull out. He thought that he could ultimately lose, a year and a half to 2 years after a full knee reconstruction if that leg would have gone wrong, something would have gone wrong. And we got that word last Friday. We had practice that day, so we all met at the PI, and that's kind of when I just said, like, dude, what are we doing here, man? Like, I love you, bro, you're my brother, but I gotta, as your coach, I do have to tell you what I think is right, and this is what I feel is right in this situation. But if you as the fighter say that you're going to fight, I'm going to have your back 110%, but I can't live with myself without telling you how I truly feel. This isn't about anything other than your safety and your legacy, in my opinion. So we agreed upon what we were going to do was we're going to come to California fight week. We were going to meet with the doctor out here in LA. The moment we landed, we actually went right to his office and basically waited outside, and he came out, and I could tell by his face, I'm like, oh, we're fighting. So once we knew that, man, I didn't bring his knee up once. I didn't say anything about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore, because that's, as far as I'm concerned, is behind us. We're going to fight with what we got.
Eric, if I want to, I guess, parallel football, you guys tried the passing game in rounds 1 and 2, and it wasn't going as well as it has in the past. The long bomb, the big right, the vicious left, the uppercut. And then you guys started running the ball. You turned to wrestling and jiu-jitsu and just an overall grappling game. Dare I say, even using the clock to your advantage, being on top, impressing the judges with what they give credit for when the fight does hit the ground. But at the same time, that's amazing that you had to default, to like a plan B, a plan C, all that on the fly in a world title fight. what was that like for you to, I guess, see it happen? Maybe not going the way that you wanted it, but then figuring it out.
I think that's the beauty of Francis training as much as he's been training, and I think fine tuning all the nuances of MMA. And like you and I talk about kind of all the time too, George, is like you need an off speed pitch. You have a fastball, but what's your bailout pitch? What else do you have in your repertoire that you can lean on? And I was so confident in his skill set that I knew at some point, if and when we got to that body lock series, he was able to get this fight to the ground. And you know, we kind of played with it a little bit. I think in maybe round 1, round 2, there were some clinch positions. You know, Usman obviously being in the corner, he you know, his eye for that as well. So yeah, we just basically trusted in his instincts. And what happened was, I believe it was the round when Gone threw the kick and we caught it, and that's when the ground actually started to open up for us. So right away, when I saw Gane's reactions to the ground control, his defensive things, I knew we had something there. And it was actually kind of funny at the end of round 3. I'm walking in the corner and I was putting the stool down, and I looked at Francis and I go, "We got something now, don't we?" And Francis shook his head and he's like, "We sure do." And I was like, "All right, let's get right back to it then." You know, so by being able to score that takedown in round 3, I really wanted a lot of level change motion, because I knew that the level changes now had some validity. He had to worry about getting taken down. So that should open up some more of our strikes, meaning the overhand or the level change feints to overhands, as well as, again, our ground game stuff. So we got right back to it in round 4. And then obviously in round 5, there was that sequence with the sweep. But we knew that if we can keep him on the ground, that we had a path to victory then.
You know, in between the rounds, you've been getting a lot of credit for the way you spoke to your fighter, whether it was giving technical advice or sometimes just communicating with him and keeping him calm, actually maybe even relaxing him by taking the pressure off. You know, like I'm not saying like joking or anything, but just like, hey, it's just another night, you know, and making sure that he knew that, hey, you're still in the ball game or whatever. What I want to know is, when he sits down, how do you determine, you know, when you just need to talk to him and say, "Hey man, we're having fun, aren't we?" And, you know, and then there's other times where you're actually giving, you know, technical advice, like combos that you want him to throw or whatever.
You know, that's a really good question, George. And I think it's just kind of a flow, or knowing what you might need to say, or a feel. You know, I like to think as ourselves in the corner like a conductor to an orchestra. You know, you really know when you need to bring in the brass or the woodwinds, or what instrument, where it needs to be there to make the song complete. So yeah, sometimes, you know, I do have a lighter approach to kind of lighten the mood, maybe deflect some of that. And then, you know, obviously there's times where you see me getting guys' asses because I need that. I need something out of them. So for me, I think I kind of picked that up a little bit more as the fight went on, especially for the championship rounds, because I knew what was at stake. And definitely in round 5, I think I was a little bit more stern with him, but I also wanted to reinforce that with the belief that I truly believe in you, man. You know, you've been through so much in your life, that this is nothing to you. So I know that we can get through this obstacle, and just giving him that self-belief back into him, knowing that we're all here for him and we can get this done together. So, and I felt like it worked.
Eric, sort of along those same grounds, how does it work with Kamaru Usman? I know Francis has been in his corner, he's been in Francis's corner, but is that, like, as far as a coach goes, you and Dewey Cooper, how much do you guys need to talk to Kamaru Usman? Like, is he more of a motivational guy, or is he into the game plan and actually giving advice? Like, how do you guys bounce that off as a team together?
Yeah, Kamaru just really comes on fight week, but he's just more, he's really a resource of information. I think an outside eyes perspective, if you will, but coming from the guy who's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. So, you know, he's such a great resource. But really, moreover, for all of us included in this camp, I mean, he's got this experience that none of us will have, being in these championship fights. So we're able to lean on him more, I think, from more of his experiences from the day-to-days rather than the X's and O's, but we can also go to him and lean on him when it comes to technical things. So we actually did some of the wall work stuff the day of. So like we did our shakeout. Usman came in and we worked some stuff, and then Usman covered some body lock series stuff with Francis that we ended up using in the fight. So having him there is a great resource for all of us. And we could all learn something from him. So having him there is always a commodity.
On fight night, everybody was just oohing and awing over Francis's wrestling, a little bit of jiu-jitsu in there as well. But is this something that Francis has always had, and this is just the right moment that he's been able to show everyone? Or has he really made these like leaps and bounds in between fights?
Oh, he's been making these leaps and bounds. I mean, you guys got to remember too, like we've talked about this in the past. He hasn't had to really show any of this since he's been at Xtreme Couture. He comes to every Monday, all my Monday practices and all of Coach Dennis's and Nate's Wednesday wrestling practices. And then he's doing all the cardio sessions on Saturday. So you guys already know the way we tailor our Monday practice. I thought Gane and those guys had a good game plan coming out in round one to try to make him pummel and get heavy on his arms. But you guys, of all people, know the way I run Monday practice. We're built for that shit. Like that's what we do for those reasons. So we don't get tired and we can push the pace and we can out wrestle you. So we saw it, and I said to him in the corner, I was like, we already know now, but we're gonna turn the tides on him. So he's been grinding at this forever, goes, and I think now you're just really able to see what he's capable of doing in his athleticism. But it's one thing to show it in the room, but it's another to be able to do it live in a fight.
I know that in between rounds, at times fighters have talked about looking across, locking eyes with their opponent, and just kind of sometimes even a smile or something can just really get into a fighter's head. As a coach, you talked about at the end of round one, we kind of expected them to do this. We know what they're going to do. Do you ever lock eyes with the other team or even the other fighter? And do you ever throw off that little smile like, I think I got you here? That was a big chess move.
Of course I do. Yeah, of course I do. So after round three, it took Gane a little while to get up off the mat, and I made that aware. I vocalized that to him. I yelled literally at Francis as I was walking in to drop the stool. I yelled at Francis to look at Gane and say, look how tired this motherfucker is. He can't even get up off the mat, loud enough that they all could hear me say that. So yeah, definitely I do that. And, for me, it's just kind of a chess move, but I want to let them know that I can smell blood in the water and that we're coming.
Man, I didn't hear that. Did the coaches hear it too? Did they react to it, or did Gane, or were you already back turned and going towards your corner?
I literally stood in the middle of the octagon, pointed at Gane, and yelled at Francis. And I go, "Hey, look at him. He's fucking tired. He can't even get up right now." Wow. And Francis was walking over the corner and looked over at him, and Gane was tired. He was walking to the corner nice and slow and drudging over there. And right then and there, I was like, oh, we got something here. I know we got something here. So let's keep breaking his will.
Round 5, when most thought it was 2-2, and Gane had started coming out, he had a little bit more activity than the previous rounds. But they get to that position where they were on the ground and he went for, it looked like some leg locks, right? How confident were you at that time? I mean, a lot of people will just say, how do you leg lock a tree trunk? But, Gane's a pretty big dude himself. What were you thinking at that time? What were you thinking back at, when you saw him wrestle? I'm sure you were thinking about his work with, Dennis and Nate and everybody, at Xtreme Couture with the wrestling. What about the jiu-jitsu moments and having to defend that? I think he went for a heel hook, knee bar first, and then a heel hook. Has a lot gone into that type of sub defense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of run the transition through my head again. I believe Gane went for a single or a double, scored it, and Francis probably should have gone for a gut wrench in that position to try to go for the sweep. Where I wasn't happy was Francis laid back flat on his back, but right away he went to the left wrist, Gane's right wrist, and started to try to pin for that knee shield. And then it looked like what he was trying to do was kind of like maybe even set up a triangle or something, but I can see his right leg that Francis's right leg kind of try to look for that scissor sweep a little bit. And I'll back up a little bit further. At the beginning of camp, I went over some of the stuff in my head with Francis, sat down and wrote down some notes. And Francis said that the jiu-jitsu coach or somebody over there at MMA Factory used to always comment about Francis's feet, that he had very, very big feet for heel hooks. And he felt that that would be something that they would go after. That I think they would try to go after my legs. So, we started working on some of that defense stuff. It wasn't a lot. I mean, Jake Shields would come in and help and show a couple things, but Francis had a very good idea of how he wanted to defend that. And if it's comfortable for you, there's no reasons to try to rewrite the book. So we went right to the defense that he liked. And to be quite fair and transparent, I think Gane made a mistake by going for that leg. It helped us get the sweep, got us on top. And Francis, from there on out, won the fight.
Yeah, most definitely. Did you have any interaction with the other team or with Ciryl, off camera that we may not have seen? Are things cool? Are they more heated? Are they the same? How would you regard, I guess, everything now as it come to us some sort of a conclusion?
I stay true to myself in this whole thing. I'm a respectful guy to the other team and coaches. I try not to get into any of that bullshit. I think Lopez kind of was trying to stir the pot but looking back, I kind of understand why too. Like, I didn't know that he managed Gane as well. I thought he was just his coach. So him being the manager, I kind of understand how he wants to try to, bring some more eyes and some more notoriety to the fight as well. But I just try to look at it a little bit more empathetic viewpoint, understanding, like, I've been in those positions before where a fighter's left, or, he spent a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of energy to help build Francis where he's at. And that relationship went awry, I think, because of some of Ferdinand's ego issues, from what Francis says, but that has no bearing on me and him. And I didn't want it to be that way. I just wanted to have our athletes compete. So I made sure to make it a point to shake his hand. I went over to Ciryl, gave him a hug and shook his hand. And then after all the fight was over, we were back in for press. And I saw Coach Lopez, and we had like a nice moment. I gave him a big hug and an embrace. He was emotional. I wished him the best of luck and told him, I feel that this fight will be probably ran back again in the future. I think Ciryl's the real deal, man. He's going to be up in that top 3, top 4 for a long period of time, and we're going to remain the apex predator of that division. So I definitely see that happening again. And, personally, I just respect our opponents, and I respect the other team on the other side. And I got to stay true to myself in those positions.
Did Team Ngannou in any way, Francis, relay this to you, or I can't remember if it was Embedded or Countdown, but I'm sure you guys have a lot of chill time on fight week, because you want to, you break a sweat, you eat, and then you relax a little bit. But what about the part where Fernand Lopez did say he's not a good person or something like that, and everyone's going to see that? It wasn't like he's an MFer. There was no curse words or whatever, but I felt like that kind of, I don't know, it had something behind it, I don't know. What'd you think of that comment?
I mean, dude, like, my relationship with Francis, and I've never seen ever anything to stand up to those comments. And then, I feel like he that Lopez kind of played himself. And I saw that he, made a comment about Francis's back injury, or like, I know how to break him, or I know this, or I know that, but was like making it no, instead of just saying that and leave it, he's like, I know he has lower back problems, or this or that, like airing that out. In my mind, I'm like, well, if I'm any fighter fighting for this guy right now, I have to worry about what I say or do around this man, because I can ultimately someday in the same position as Francis, and he's going to try to use that against me, right? Like, I can't tell this guy my deepest, darkest secrets, because he's shown now that he did this to his former fighter. So how can he be trusted? So I was like, oh, this guy just completely played himself by making those comments. He should have just kept his mouth shut, ran the game plan, and done everything he did. But I think he caused himself more harm than good by some of his actions. But that's just my personal opinion, man. And man, you guys know me and Francis' relationship. The guy's the real deal. He takes care of me. He takes care of his coaches. He takes care of his family and friends. You know, he's literally the first fighter in the history of Xtreme Couture to give the gym back some money for winning the title. He bought us all of our new mats at Xtreme Couture. There's not one fighter in the entire lineage of Xtreme Couture to ever do that. They just pay their gym dues. This dude takes care of his gym. So to tell me that the guy's a bad person, I think is bullshit.
Eric, in closing, what did you learn from this fight? They say win or learn. And again, this fight could have been one of those where we might be talking about an L, and then we got to ask you, what did you learn? But I think we can still ask you that because so much happened, but you got the W. But you had to have learned something, right?
I know I learned a lot about Francis's mindset and his willpower, his unwavering, faith in understanding that he can perform in situations that aren't going to be 100%. And, Randy preached this to me when we won the title for the last, since March. He's like, Eric, I'm telling you, the hardest fight of this man's career is going to be his first title defense. I'm telling you, you guys got to understand that. You're going to see changes. There's going to be money. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. You guys have to stay true to yourself and stay committed to the team, to one another. So that was the biggest thing I took away from this whole fight camp. Essentially, was the bond that we have as a team, the way we stuck together and had each other's back. I just think it showed going in round 5. That was our moment. And when he won that fight, man, that's where I wanted him to understand that he did this. This was on him. He won this fight, because I sure shit was like, pull out, man. This doesn't look good. Like we're hurt. We're this, we're that. And he was unrattled, guys, the entire time, man. He knew he can do it. He knew he can win, and he did it.
Eric, so moving forward, let's talk a little timeline. I know you mentioned earlier that the doctor had said, hey, this is kind of a scary situation. Something bad could happen. It seemed like Francis made it out okay, and I don't know if it's too early yet, or do we know that officially that he did avoid any more serious injury to that knee? And do you know roughly what the timetable would be for him to start training again and possibly take a fight?
So he goes back to the LA doctor tomorrow. He's out here with us still. So he's going to go to the doctor tomorrow. He's going to get it checked out, and we're going to go from there. But it is a fully torn MCL. So in my opinion, I think he needs to get that addressed. I don't know if that's surgery. I don't know how that works, to be honest with the MCL. But I think that we'll get a pretty good answer tomorrow in seeing how they want to approach this thing.
There were so many storylines going out after the fight, and I know you're his coach and you're a very close friend. But at this point, when the fight is over, what relationship do you have as far as moving forward? Like I know, a lot of people were talking about Dana not being there, Dana not putting the belt, and Francis's relationship with Dana White and the UFC and what they're going to do moving forward. You have other fighters in the UFC. You have other coaches there who coach other fighters that are in the UFC. Like, is it difficult to kind of separate now from what's going to happen afterwards, like Xtreme Couture and, hey, this is Francis Ngannou and his manager and what they're talking with the UFC is, I know all that can be kind of a pain in the ass for you as a head coach, but also for the gym. Can you just talk about what your mindset is going forward with all that?
Yeah, I think, for me, I understand that this is a business, and I try to allow management to handle those kind of things. So I really never try to step across, and stay. I just try to stay in my lane. I do understand that the UFC, essentially they pay a lot of my bills, not them personally, but the fighters that fight for the UFC. So, I have to bite my lip on certain things, but I also have to be understanding in some of their areas as well, as far as the business goes. So, I mean, honestly goes, like, I really think that they're going to get a deal done. I think they're going to figure this thing out. I think they're going to get a deal done. And I think that these guys are going to be able to make a lot of money together, and everybody can be happy at the end of the day. So I don't really like to try to worry too much about all that stuff. I don't understand why Dana did that, but he might have his reasons why. I don't think it looked good, but it is what it is, man.
I'm with you. I believe that this will all play itself out and we will see him in mixed martial arts. But I did want to ask you one boxing question. We've seen Teddy Atlas at Xtreme Couture before. He's been there and he seems to kind of have a liking to Francis when he teaches him things and stuff like that and gives pointers to the other coaches. Has he ever shared his thoughts personally, like what he believes Francis could do in boxing?
I haven't talked to Coach Teddy this camp. A lot. He reached out to me a couple times, but nothing about like boxing stuff. It was more just, more about Ciryl. So I mean, that's a great resource for me. And I've never really gone to him about that yet, but I definitely will when that time comes. But anytime I get to talk to Coach Teddy, man, it's a wealth of knowledge. So hopefully I'll get that opportunity to chat with him again and kind of pick his brain about what he thinks would be our best opponent, best approach. But myself and Coach Dewey have some pretty good ideas on what we would do if we boxed.
Well, hopefully he fights in Africa. Hopefully he fights at Allegiant Stadium. This guy's a monster. I think he's everything the UFC's ever wanted. And hopefully they, like Goz said, they just come to the table. Each side, gives a little. And we do this thing. Jon Jones is already talking smack. I'm sure you saw it, even though he deleted it. That's so cute when he does that. But, the whole, I'll fuck both of these guys, though. I guess it was towards the heavyweight division in general because these are the top of the heap. Did you see it? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'm kind of taking Francis' approach to that. Like he had his opportunity. We were told that was the guy we were going to fight after Stipe, and the guy can't stay out of trouble. I respect his MMA game. I respect where he's at in the pecking order for pound. But the guy can't stay out of trouble, and the guy can't get his shit together. Then why are we still worrying about him? So that in a lot of ways that kind of got us sidetracked, in my opinion, because we were so focused and driven on getting that Jon Jones fight that it ended up going to Derek Lewis, and then we're gonna fight Derek Lewis now, and then we're gonna fight Ciryl Gane. So we wasted a lot of time worried about Jon Jones. I hope that fight does happen. I don't know when, but in my opinion, it's no longer on his timetable. It's on ours.
Your face kind of lit up when I mentioned Allegiant Stadium. You want that too, don't you?
Oh, bro, born and raised in Vegas. That'd be a dream come true, George. Like, dream come true, man. Gave me goosebumps when he said that.
Who do you want on the opposite side of you guys?
Oh, definitely Jon Jones.
Jon Jones?
Yep.
You know what else I picture? I don't know how much of a WWF or WWE fan you are or have ever been, but you had to have seen when Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant came in at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. It was like WrestleMania 3. And they had to come on like what is that goes? Like a gurney or
no, it was like a mini cart, but it was a ring, right? So they stood.
Yeah.
They were in a
because
little
it's a far walk. It's a big stadium, but they sold out the Pontiac Silverdome. May still even be the record for biggest wrestling event ever or whatever. But it was just kind of something I'll never forget. It was just big Andre the Giant with Bobby Heenan, his manager. So you would be Bobby Heenan because, well, I guess Markel does walk out with you guys, but still, Bobby Heenan was the second biggest figure in Team Andre the Giant that night, which no disrespect to Cooper, Markel, or Kamaru. That's you. You're the head coach. But I could see you guys. I'd love to see you guys coming out on something like that through Allegiant Stadium. That'd be so awesome, man. I mean, I would lose my mind before the fight even starts because this is real fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Kamaru will probably come out like the guy from 300 Xerxes on this big gold throne and getting carried out.
Have you seen what I'm talking about with Andre and Bobby?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Like, I love pro wrestling. Don't get me wrong. I get that it's, entertainment and scripted and everything. But, you can't help but think that Heenan was saying, don't forget, in the 10th minute, Hulk's going to slam you. Whereas with you guys, like, this is Roman Coliseum stuff we go through.
Yeah,
and us as fans, us as bettors, us as Xtreme Couture guys as well. You're a friend of ours, man, that we love dearly, and I can imagine your heart is pumping as well. But imagine Allegiant Stadium, guys.
Man, unreal.
You know, you can actually see through the window and you'll be able to see the strip. And I can't imagine what it would be like to walk out and actually see that, especially for a guy like Eric that's born and raised in Las Vegas. That's pretty amazing, man. For everything from the marquee, walkout, all that, the light from the Luxor. Oh my God, I would lose my mind.
Yeah, man, it'd be unreal. It would be definitely a moment that I would cherish for the rest of my life. That's for sure.
You know what I think he owes you though? I think he owes you to choose the walkout song that night.
Hey, there you go. I can't change God's plan though, man. That's vibes. I love that walkout.
Now I want to go see the Rumble in the Jungle just to kind of get a feel for how that was, because again, I think the UFC can go to Africa with Kamaru, Izzy, and Francis. It might be tough to line up all three. Sometimes it's just tough because of where they fight on the calendar, injuries, holdouts, whatever. But at least two of the three will do it. But I just don't see how you don't match boxing history and bring your big gun as well. And you know, man, I think that's going to be something else. And he passed a huge test on Saturday, and he dug deep, and all's forgiven. I may take a leg kick for saying this, but I got to do this shit once in a while. But the fight versus Derek Lewis, I was sitting on the edge of my seat, and obviously that one didn't work out.
Yep.
It wasn't the most exciting fight ever. This erases it because he just dug so deep and showed us so many things that are that are beyond power and explosion and, you know, vicious uppercuts. He's given us plenty of that, you know, but this showed us just how complete he was up here and up here. We know the physical. I see him walk in at 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and I'm just in awe. You know, it's like a Greek god's walking through. I've seen all that. I can see, you know, him and like Ige and two other guys trying to beat him up. They can't do it. You know what I mean? Punching the jackass guys, making people fly across the room. I've seen all that. But this, that was awesome to see on Saturday, to dig deep. And all of you guys get credit for that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those fights that define your legacy. You know, we need those moments, and we need the moments where, you know, maybe it's not going our way and we have to change some things up, but we have to be, you know, we have to have the skill set to be able to do it. So, I mean, I'm so proud of him, and I'm so proud of the work he's put in, because without that, you know, we're chasing this dude around the cage and missing punches and getting out struck, you know, with this pitter pat volume. And we end up losing a decision that probably doesn't look great. But he's able to dig deep and find the wherewithal to score those takedowns, and, you know, worked hard on his ground game and kept him there and suffocated the man. So I think it's something now other people are going to have to worry about, especially seeing what Francis is able to do, that we can do both. We can knock you out, and we can put you on your back.
For sure. Man, thank you so much for talking with us the day after the fight. We're only 24 hours removed from what's probably one of your biggest moments as well. So congrats on that. By the way, a message to the rest of Team Nicksick at home: you got to up your game, man. That I saw that charcuterie. These guys are cavemen. These guys are savages. There should have been like pounds of meat, you know, meat and pastas and stuff like that. So I know what you were feeling. I'm glad you checked them.
They did me right. My niece ended up getting some Postmates Jack in the Box order through. So when they showed up with that
guy
stuff,
that can put away $25 worth in a Roberto's Mexican food drive-through. You cannot be giving them grapes and cheese after a big fight like that.
I was so disappointed, man. I was so disappointed.
All right, I don't want to get you in trouble. They you know, in the end, they're the bosses. Thanks, Eric, for the time, man. We love you, buddy. Thanks for the time here on Junkie Radio.
Always, brother. Love you guys too, and you know, thanks for all the support, man. I feel it, man. And I know you guys are always there for me, so I appreciate you.
Awesome. All right, enjoy your evening. Take care.
All right, boys. Later.
See you.